Welcome to Positivity Hug delivered by myself, Beata Young. I'm the founder of Women on It community, based in Malta, located at the moment during lockdown in Valletta. And I am joined by budding entrepreneurs, micropreneurs, however you call it, because we are going to talk today about side hustle and how to turn your hobby into business. So we are joined with women from Hungary. Gabe, hello. We are joined by Giselle, who's joined us from Malta, and Minca, who joined us from Slovenia. Hello, it's lovely to see some people watching us live. And I just would like to remind you, today's session is all about community building, and community is an important part of this session. And we want you to succeed. And in order to succeed, you need to ask us questions or give us certificates of appreciation, which are in the form of likes, comments, you name it, whatever you feel like. So let's start with Gabriella. How did you start your journey?
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for having me on the show. Well, my journey started in Budapest almost 10 years ago, and it literally was a hobby. I used to work as a film industry professional, as a casting director for 16 years. And one day I just found it so demanding. I thought it would be so nice to do something creative. So I went to an art school and I started to design and create handbags and accessories. I never wanted to sell them. I just wanted to create it for myself as a creative relief. But people started to see them on me and started to buy it. So I thought maybe it would be something that would be a great way to earn money and have a less stressful life. And so I did it.
Fantastic. And Gabriella, we met many events later in Malta, and we talked about how you created your business and how you are passionate about it. And sometimes you were a bit kind of diminishing your role, which was actually employment, something that you could get through and get some basic salary to work really on your passion. Now we're off to talk to Giselle, who's been recommended to me by Vicky, who is the woman running the Micropreneurs events in Malta. And I was very pleased to hear from her just yesterday, because Giselle is working on a day job, has got in a pharmacy, and sometimes her shifts are not stable, and sometimes she just doesn't know whether she can join us or she can't. So she created a very unique blog that turned into business. Giselle, what prompted you into this business idea?
Yes, in fact, it didn't start off as a business idea. This started off as a blog about 3 years ago. My daughter was around 3 years old, and I used to use social media to express myself about my parenting struggles and feeding her, trying to give her a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet. And the blog began to grow. The followers grew both on Instagram and Facebook. And as my blog started focusing more and more on packed lunches and healthy meals, many mummies started asking me where I was getting my items from, the items that I was using, like lunch boxes, plates, and things like that. So I started making them available for my followers mainly. That's how it started. And bit by bit it grew, and it grew to the extent that I had to create a proper online shop, and this happened very recently. So now I'm selling these items and growing the shop as I go along.
Fantastic. That's a very inspiring story. And we are joined also with Minca, who is also having a stable job while working on her side hustle. And side hustle is actually a term developed in America during the recession in 2008, and is showing the potential of side jobs that you can have while having a stable job, or just starting something on the side to validate it. So, Minca, can you tell us, how did you start? How was your journey different or similar?
Yes, I have actually 3 passions still that are very much related to my job. So first, the first passion and love is English. So I studied the language. I'm a professor of English, and I still teach mostly adults, language schools, private sessions and lessons. And then as a side job, I always wanted to do something for myself, to create something like a brand, which is now turned to be Typewriter and Souvenirs. Typewriter is focused on the quotes that I come up with and share with the audience and whoever wants to buy them. And then I have Souvenirs, which is focusing on souvenirs for Slovenia. So I started with a few ideas, and then it developed, and it's still actually being sold in stores across Slovenia.
Fantastic. That's great to hear that you're very successful in Slovenia. I also heard that you're very successful in London and your products reach abroad, not just in Slovenia.
Thanks.
So
yeah, we're trying. We're doing our best. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm going to actually delve deeper into how did you develop your brand to reach beyond Slovenia? Was there any particular area you had to focus on?
Well, actually, starting in a foreign country is quite a journey. I think you have to start like slow, and first maybe get to know the right people, help you out. Without this, it's a foreign market, to begin with. So yes, I connected with Karina. That was a Chamber of Commerce in Slovenia that had one project to start. I've joined, and the stars aligned for us and Karina Vaughan. So we've met, and she took me to London. And that was the first experience I had there with some stores, the demand. So the stuff that I really wanted to find out first before any other major stuff could happen. So now I'm still working on it, trying to expand, do it slowly, but surely, I guess.
So which tools did you use? I mean, you said you set up a shop. Was it Shopify? Which tools did you use to actually get going?
That was actually, I still have Facebook shop, which works pretty okay. So most of my stuff through Typewriter are sold there. And then Instagram account, so direct sort of messages always work. I still don't have a website with a proper shop. That still awaits somewhere in the future. But yeah, Facebook shop, where I began. And retails, of course, many shops.
And that's so pretty easy, isn't it, Giselle? Because I have noticed you have got your Facebook shop, and it's up and running, and it's lots of products, and the possibilities are enormous. Is that how you started?
This only happened recently. In fact, the online shop, it started off just like Minca said, with messages. People sending me messages on Instagram and Facebook. Then I decided to set up a Facebook shop, which made it easier for people to see without having to ask me a lot of questions. And now, recently, I think it's been less than a month, or maybe a month, I set up a proper shop on Shopify now. So it's more straightforward.
Oh, that's interesting, because Giselle, I remember our first conversation, and you said, I'm not woman in tech. And it's interesting because you're using technology, but you don't perceive yourself as tech savvy.
Not at all.
Definitely. So now we are off to Gabe because it's interesting to hear stories about online shopping. And I know, Gabe, that you've been very keen on going to small souvenir shops. And I wonder how it impacted you during COVID. And I know that you've got a unique way of pivoting and changing your way of, well, let's call it a production line. So if you could tell us a little bit about this fascinating new journey.
Yes, I have a website, and the website is under construction at the moment because I needed to change to a more modern one. But since I relocated to Malta, I had to find a better way to represent products. So, for instance, I'm going to markets, artisan markets, to present all of my products. And I also into some shops. If I may name them, I'm in the Phoenicia Hotel Salt and Seas shop in Kashbish, and recently in Birgu in Find the Doors. Obviously, it was very difficult with COVID because we had to close down the shops. So it was a bit challenging. But people find me online, so through Facebook, Instagram, whenever they can reach me, they contact me. So it's pretty easy nowadays. I think IT and social media has a huge impact on every business. So once you're approachable, it will help your business tremendously and make for people so easy to get in touch.
So you just have to hug the future, right? Chelsea, you have to be woman on it, hug the future. We've got a question from Romina. It's lovely to see you, Romina. Good afternoon, girls. A great opportunity to be here and fantastic to meet you all. Small query about Facebook shop. Can you link it to other social media platforms to reach a wider audience? And maybe I think, Minca, you could tell us about how did you reach the wider audience, which ways you used to get a better outcome and better return on investment, however you call it. Did any one of you did Facebook advertisement? How was the experience? Let's start from Minca.
Well, yeah, that's quite an issue, you know, and it's a huge potential, like they already mentioned, definitely. I think the larger investments into Facebook marketing are still ahead of me. I haven't tried anything serious out, but I'm about to within coming months, I think. However, the brand awareness, I think, spreads out through personal stories, and you can link your Facebook shop to an Instagram account. That, I think, is a clever move for beginners. And then, yes, direct sales through any sort of messages, maybe also emailing sometimes. It helps a lot, especially with my brand, Typewriter, because a lot of, especially, let's say, women want to know about the sizes, you know, what's really the color, what are the options. So I help them out one-on-one, person to person, and they appreciate that. So it's sort of individual approach that you have in sales, and it works for me perfectly for now.
Ladies, any of you have got different story to inspire our listeners, how to position yourself, how to be different or unique?
Maybe I could mention something.
Oh, yes, Giselle.
No, because I was just wondering about the question about linking the Facebook shop, and it got me thinking, because basically, yes, it's important, first of all, to have Instagram linked to Facebook, which these days is very easy because they are already linked because they belong to the same company. So all you have to do is link the account. So whatever you post on Instagram will appear on Facebook. Then you have the shop. The shop will have the specific items. Now, you can leave it as a Facebook shop. In that case, they will have to contact you for purchasing. Or you can link it to a website, either by just putting the link that takes them to the website and then send through the website. Or else if you use something like Shopify, items that are on Shopify will automatically appear on the Facebook shop. So once you put them on Shopify, they come automatically. So
Great. And Gabe,
Yes.
how about you? Do you do online shopping as well?
Yes.
Selling?
I just started to say that maybe another good opportunity is Etsy. I have a platform also on Etsy, and a lot of people know that, you know, what products they can find there. So it's also a good platform, I think. Many people, the whole world is using it, so it's really a good platform. On Facebook, yes, you can link all of your accounts through that. And once you reach the point that you make your own website, which is very easy now, and there are great packages on Ucraft or other sites, you actually, on a very small budget, can create a nice website, and it can be linked through your other platforms, your social media sites, and so on. So I think once you have someone who can help you with that, it's very easy to set it up.
Oh, absolutely. And there's lots of tutorials. The world is your oyster. And as the saying goes, it was actually Einstein who said, everything comes to he who hustles while he waits. So we are the hustlers. We are having side hustles. So Romina, I hope your question got answered, and you can definitely check out our lovely brands that we are presenting today with the faces of the brands. So the question I would like to ask all of you, which is, what would be your advice for all these women who are not just women, because we've got some male participants as well. What would be your advice? 3 things to focus on when starting your side hustle that could potentially become your main business. Let's start with Giselle.
Well, I think what was very important to me is having the connection with your followers. Vanilla Mami started as a blog, so I think it worked out well for me that way. That first I created the followers through Instagram and Facebook, and then when eventually I started selling the products, it was easier to connect with the people who are following me and to understand what are their needs really. So I think one piece of advice would be to especially if you want to have feedback from the people, is to have a good following and to remain in touch with your following by being authentic. So don't try and be something you are not, and don't try and advertise things that you're not comfortable with, or that do not resonate with who you truly are. That's, I think, was very important for me. Another thing is to find a niche. I think that's important as well. And even the other people on the panel, the other ladies on the panel, are very specific niches, because basically if unless you invent something new, something completely innovative that doesn't exist, then you're always going to find competition. But because of your niche, it will make you more linked to your audience. You find a specific audience. And one thing that I would recommend, some advice perhaps when starting off something new, is that not to spend a lot of money. There are a lot of things, a lot of resources available online that are completely free. So when you don't have a budget, or you have a very low budget, try and make use of these resources. For example, there are online courses, there are YouTube tutorials, there are websites where you can get free photos and pictures, and there are tons of ways to create a website from scratch with zero money.
In other words, you can become tech savvy with a couple of clicks. And so the question goes to Gabe now. You've created something unique, and you're definitely authentic. And I wonder if you would like to add something to that.
Thank you. Yes, I am in a so-called difficult situation, because what I do is recycling waste, which is not a very sexy subject. So in the beginning, I had difficulty how to really articulate this message to the people. And I realized that it's very, very important what is your project is all about, and that your purpose has to be very pure, because it was always a very important fact for me in my life to protect nature. I wanted to find a project or create a project that will have this cause as well, that I will help nature in some way. So at Gabe Bags, I'm creating bags and accessories mainly from discarded materials. I am very blessed because Culinary Paris Mode is one of the companies that provide wonderful materials in order to be able to do that. But going back to the original question, what is my 3 advice would be? Definitely preparation. No matter what other people say, if you believe in your project, if you really have a genuine idea, I think you have to stick with it, and you really have to find ways and think about it in what way you can represent it the best to the people. So you plan ahead everything. You plan ahead your excellence in production. So try to come up with the best possible product instead of just showing something, parts of the idea that you have. So I think preparation is very, very important. Another very important aspect is if you have to work like I do, that I still have my main job. If you have to keep your main job, that is extremely important to have a structure, because you are responsible for your team, you are responsible for your job at your work. And so it's very important not to fail in any of them, but yet be able to go ahead with your own project. So structuring is, I think, really key. And the third most important part is, for me, to set up a trusted team. You really need people you can trust. You need people who can back you up, and people that will really tell you the honest truth. So where I'm wrong somewhere, they dare to say, "Gab, I think it's not okay. Maybe you should do this better next time, or you should pay more attention in that part of the business." Because once you have those people, you can be sure that you will not miss out on things, and you will pay attention to every single details. And it doesn't mean that you will never make any mistakes, but at least you will have this structure of just going forward no matter what.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for these important tips. And Minca, what would be your 3 tips to take away from this topic?
Yeah, there are really a lot, of course. So but let's pick 3. Maybe the first one, I would say, is a healthy sort of amount of self-criticism. Not to be too critical, but still you have to be critical. You have to make the best, of course, of your product, but that make sure that it's got some potential, that it is a product that will be in high demand one day, that it really is original. Because I see a lot of different things, online. I'm sure you would share this idea with me, that there's so many products that you can find on Facebook, on Instagram. Anybody can start a business, overnight, basically, but not all of them are that good. And you need this amount of real self-criticism. I think that's key. Just ask people, research, whatever. Then the second, that maybe also some entrepreneurial seminars or lectures don't speak so much about, and it's about personality. So you need some sort of a maturity before you actually can be some sort of a success, let's say, because soft skills, especially empathy that you need to show, intelligence in terms of emotions that you have to portray when you're doing business, when you're doing deals, is extremely important, quintessential, I would say, for any business. Of course, you make mistakes, but for example, when you feel that the other counterpart or business partner potential has a bad day or has had a bad day, don't be pushy, don't impose things, and so do things with a sensitivity sort of and maturity in your own self and in your own personality. That is key for me, I think. And you don't hear advice from others, I think. And then I think Giselle also mentioned what I wanted to say, is authenticity. So that you have something that is yours, completely yours, so that you stand by it 100%. And for me, I can say that, yeah, I am my own brand. I live the quotes, basically, most of my life. And I think it's much easier to sell than all the things, and much more fulfilling at the end of the day as well, if you are able to do that. So
Fantastic.
yeah, some you in everything you do. I always say that. So.
And I think you have to, when you're authentic, you have to remember that you are not there to please everybody, because it's impossible actually, and you're not combo with chicken soup to please everybody. Not everybody has to like that or that, the other soup or the other t-shirt. And the fourth pointer I would add, Minca, is invest in a higher chair, because your face is somehow hidden.
Okay.
Every so often. Just kidding. So we've got a question. Thank you so much for questions. And Olga is asking us, lovely to see you again, Olga. You've been a promoter of Women on It for a long, long time. Great to have a question from you. Did the ladies need a lot of capital to start your side hustles, and how do you manage inventory? And I know that, for example, when in terms of capital, there was lots of work into capital raising, and I would like to start with Gabe, who actually finished her crowdfunding platform project with a success. Gabe, could you tell us a little bit about how you raised money?
Yes. Hello, Olga. Thank you for the question. Yes, I decided to go to crowdfunding because of two reasons. Because I had someone who suggested it. I didn't want to do it at first, but I realized that I have this problem that I don't want to ask money from people. I don't want to go to someone, to an investor, someone to give me money, because I don't feel myself ready to do this. So someone suggested that maybe it will be a good idea to go out with my idea to the world and see if it works out, if people would support it. And I thought, wow, that's pretty challenging. So I went for it. And the reason why I chose crowdfunding was because you actually pre-sell your product, meaning that you offer something in return of that money. And I felt very comfortable about that people trusting me with their money, but in return, I can give something right away. So what I did, I set up a crowdfunding platform with ZAR, and I went only for 2,000 euros to buy a new an industrial machine to be able to continue my project. And luckily, my project was successful. It's a roller coaster when you are in the middle of it, and the money is just stop coming. You are like, you feel like hell, which you've never done before, and what this stupid idea, it wasn't everything. But then when people start to write to you, oh, my idea is great, and blah, blah, and slowly again, you really experience what it's like in real life as well, that you have good days when everything is just going so great, everybody wants your product, and then there will be weeks or days when it's going to the other end. And it was a very, very important experience also, because I had to go out, be naked, by saying, at this point, my project needs money. And as uncomfortable as brutal it was, and as challenging it was, at the end, it was as rewarding as well, just for the bravery that finally I made it. And I was brave enough to go out there and ask for help. So I highly suggest it to anybody.
Fantastic. I think it's very tricky to gain funding, but I think it's definitely something many entrepreneurs should consider. Although I would say, given the fact that investors are tricky to find, or you took the route of crowdfunding, I wonder whether some of you actually took another route. Minca, did you go for European Union funding, or because you mentioned the Invest Northern Ireland scheme?
Yes, in terms of maybe a project here and then, yes, but not investment as such. I haven't had any actually so far. I've managed, I guess, but for a start, I need not so much of a capital. A couple of thousands is enough. I mean, to start any sort of business. Not even that, which are, very successful, and you can only need a few dollars or a few euros, and that's it. I think the idea behind the whole thing is another thing that could, I don't know, maybe somehow get you out of the money problems.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you didn't get injection money. You got some value in free training. Giselle, did you get some kind of value through training or some support from the local Maltese government?
So far, I haven't used any funding at all. I mean, I still have my day job, even though I'm working on reduced hours. So I just use a bit of my income, and I started from zero, basically buying a few items and then growing slowly. Obviously, it's slower when you do it that way, but
absolutely, yeah. But
it worked well.
Bootstrapping pays off, right? You just ask for a little bit of your own time investment, and you work on it and dedicate your time, and then it brings you some money. It's definitely worth considering starting your side business. And I've seen many entrepreneurs, micropreneurs actually, because there is a specific coin that is attached to this kind of side hustle, because entrepreneurs are usually those who employ people or grow their business further. And I wonder, so the next question would be, would you, Giselle, consider going just into this business and abandoning your job in the future?
Well, let's put it this way. My career and Vanilla Mommy have always been two separate things, and I liked keeping it that way. I'm a pharmacist by profession, and I like working in the pharmacy because it combines two of the things I love doing, and which are helping people and selling. And with Vanilla Mommy, I do the same thing, but in a different way. And yes, I mean, I suppose before I had my daughter, I must admit, my focus was more on my career as a pharmacist, and I wanted that to grow. And now I'd love Vanilla Mommy had to grow. And yes, I would definitely love it to become a full-time business, step by step.
Fantastic. Minca, what about you? Would you like to still keep your job as a teacher, or is your future only with your t-shirts or your brand of typewriter?
I think it depends very much on a day. So if you've asked me today, it might have been different than if you've asked about it tomorrow. I think sometimes that both my creative sort of side as my professional side are both side jobs in a way. And sometimes it's like this, sometimes it's like that. But yeah, I think typewriter has a huge potential. And now with the Corona sort of period, I had some time to reflect, plan for the future, and I think there's a lot of things to be done still. And I'm hoping maybe a little English still, I'll keep that just for the passion and for the love of it. But yeah, typewriter definitely is my plan, for the future.
Cool. And what about you, Gabe? Well done, Giselle. We still clapping.
I feel her enthusiasm.
It's quite similar. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And we are supporting each other. That's also vitally important. As you mentioned, everybody, I think the idea about having the crowd of support is definitely something that prepares your business much further. So, Gabe, we've got two women with G starting names with G, and I always have got problems with names. So, Gabe, could you tell me? Because you also shifted from the boring job of receptionist into more exciting role. And I wonder, does it mean, Gabe, being on hold, or what is your plan?
Gabe never be on hold because that's my main purpose in life. So the reason why I went for a receptionist job for a while, because I needed enough time to prepare. And that was the only job where I could just, have a position where I have basically not so much responsibility. I go in, I only had, I think I went 3 times per week and 4 hours per day. So the rest of the time I had for Gabe to prepare everything. Then I changed the position because another company asked me to assist them. So I'm currently a business development manager somewhere, which is a very demanding position. But they knew that I have Gabe on the side. So when I went to discuss about this position, I very openly told them that this is my dream, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I'm going to do. So if it's fine, I can do both, but it is something which I will go for definitely. So it doesn't matter for me if it's a good day or a bad day. I make sure that every day I do something to make my business grow. First and foremost, because it's not only a business for me, it is more a lifestyle for me. So
fantastic. So I wanted to ask you, and this is something that not everybody wants to talk about vulnerability, but this is also about authenticity. And we all make mistakes during our journey. Can you tell us, Giselle, about the funniest mistake you made when you started your entrepreneurial exercise?
It's funny now, but it wasn't funny when it happened. About a month ago, so I still had just had the Facebook shop, and I was about to participate in the first online eco market in Malta. And at the time, my husband and I thought it was time to improve the shop and make it more professional. So he said, let me see if I can start preparing, laying out the foundations. And as soon as he registered or whatever, the Facebook shop got deleted completely. So we spent a whole day having to input everything from scratch, photos, description, and everything, like with a deadline, because the next day was the eco market, and we managed. I mean, like I said, now when I look back, it was funny because we were like in panic mode and really stressed out.
Not the best time to pivot. Yeah, well done. You made it, and with the help of husband. So definitely support again. It proves that we need that supportive power behind us. What about you, Minca? What was your funniest mistake?
Well, the worst, probably the funniest at the same time, was definitely the very beginnings. I remember when I was checking a few of the shops in central Ljubljana for souvenirs to see what's available in terms of souvenirs for Slovenia. And then I came up with a few designs of my own and ordered a few boxes, like huge amounts of t-shirts, without doing any research. And I also had screen prints already made. And I've paid, I think, quite a lot of money for all of that. And then what I did was just a calculation, okay, so this is the purchase. I've spent so much and so much money, and this is the outcome. So I'm going to definitely, triple everything in a year because everything will be sold out anyway. Of course, it wasn't. It's not the way business works. And I've learned that lesson really well. And I think I still am stuck with those boxes of t-shirts at home. And that's my reality. Yeah. And my lesson. That was the silliest, I guess.
I think it also shows how expensive can be a mistake. I'm happy to receive one T-shirt in case you try to.
Oh, thank you. I'll have it sent. Yeah, perfect. Thanks for the support.
Thank you so much. Yes, definitely. I hope somebody will take mercy on your brand and help you with some of the boxes.
Or maybe not. But yeah, anyway.
Maybe not. Who knows? Gabe, what about your funniest mistake? I could actually go on and on and on. I had a lot. I think maybe the biggest mistake was that when I had in the very early days, back in Budapest, my products were very interesting to people. And in the very early days, I already had investors being interested about my project. And so, I thought, if I will be just very honest, I could tell to everybody how much I am absolutely incapable to do business. They will be so happy that I'm an artist and they are the businessman. And so we will split this whole thing and everything will be just fantastic. And it was the biggest mistake I made. I repeated it many times. And it taught me a very precious lesson that first you have to work on yourself. And even though you have maybe difficulties or you are insecure, you have to see how you can improve. And instead of going out and, be like an open book and show it to everybody, this is all the stuff I don't know, this is not the way to do business. So I think that was the biggest mistake I've ever done, that I was coming up believing naively that the word is out there, and if you are talented, you have a great idea, everybody will be open to that.
We get so passionate about our products sometimes. We treat it like a baby and we don't want to let go. And then it really, the market validates it and it shows that maybe we were quite wrapped in the brilliance of the product and we weren't critical, just as Minca mentioned. So I was wondering, what would be your life lesson quote, Giselle, that you would like to everybody to focus on to be successful in life or in business?
My life lesson quote, maybe not a quote suitable for everyone, but personally for me, it is that life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And this is something I've had to do a lot throughout my life. I think throughout my life, I've allowed too many things to keep me back from being truly happy and truly finding my scope, just because of the fear of change or the fear of being out there, making myself vulnerable. And I think my greatest successes came when I did just that, when I stepped out of my comfort zone and took risks and tried to be brave. And you basically, if you never try something, you will never know. And I realized that life is too short for what ifs.
Absolutely. I definitely can sympathize with that because I think in Malta, quite often women are held back by the concept of, they are the shadow of their husbands. So I wonder what was life lesson quote for you, Gabe? What would you like to our audience to remember about?
Well, my life quote is one of the one and only Oprah Winfrey, who once said, "When people show you who they are the first time, believe them." And it's because of that experience I just mentioned that I believed that everybody will be helpful, everybody will be there for you and make business with you on an ethical way. If you really pay attention of what people do and say, it will help you along your journey, because it's for you. You have to become someone who does what she says. And if you have a team where you see people doing what they are saying, I think you really have a winning team. I think both in life and in business, this is very, very important to consider.
Fantastic. Thank you, Gabe. It's kind of very sentimental. Now I wonder what life lesson, and I think there is going to be lots of quotes because you're the queen of quotes, Minca. Can you tell us the life quotation you would like us to remember?
Well, thank you. Well, yeah, it's really hard for me to narrow it down to maybe 2 or 3 because I live every quote. I mean, if you them, then I think they're very relatable. So all of them are about human traits, human characteristics, something we all have experiences with, and basically, yeah, we live it. But maybe if I have to expose one or two, I would still say I like reading Mostly People is one of my favorites, because I feel that in life, relationships are everything. So without each other, we are nothing. We're social beings, and a human being is a great inspiration for me as well, in general, be it in a positive or negative way. So maybe that one to expose. And then the second one would be right behind me, I guess. Enjoy life, and it will enjoy you back. So it's all about the attitude that we have. You have to deal and be faced with all of the trials of life, even the hardest ones. Accept it, and just move forward and learn from it. And sort of a motto for, the approach. Let's say.
Fantastic, and it is very much in line with our program, which is Positivity Hug Delivered. We want you to have positive thoughts and positive attitude, and it will give you attention and positivity back. Now, I've got a question from somebody who would like to keep anonymous. And the question is, somebody's got tweeting somewhere in the background. I wonder who's got a little Twitter. Oh, Giselle. So, the question is, may I know how many of you started your business during crisis, or was it during your great time? Why did you start your business idea? Was it just something you wanted to do, or was it something that impacted you and pushed you into doing your business? Maybe Gabe, you're more kind of, it's been in your heart to deliver sustainable products. And I wonder, Minca, maybe you could tell us what crisis did you hit, or was it a crisis? Or what was it that really pushed you into starting your own idea?
A combination, I would say, because at the time, that was back in 2016, when I started the brand Typewriter, I was faced with, or I was already working on a few ties, men's ties with quotes. And I've had it arranged with one of the stores, fashion stores in Ljubljana, that we might, do a cooperation, some business. And we said that we need extra products. So we needed to add something additional. That was the idea. And then, of course, the first thing that came to mind was definitely T-shirts. And let's add new quotes. That was like an excuse for me to work on it, do it in my way and the best way possible. And then, as it turned out, that pop-up store was actually, extended to a few months of sales, which turned out to be quite successful. And that gave me wings to continue. So in a way, it was, me first, then a push. And then it just happened naturally with the love of English that I have, the love for quotes, and some creativity that I was able to add as a icing on the cake, let's say.
Fantastic. It's great to hear that question, actually, because I think many women are now stuck without a job, and that's definitely something they are considering. And I had some conversation with some women who were considering doing something on the side just to have that security in case their job is no longer there. We've got Vicky, who's been very supportive, and Vicky is asking us question: how do you get the boss of your full-time job to accept that you have a side business? And I'll start with you, Giselle, because you're the fully employed and actually at the front line of pharmacies. So there is no lockdown for you.
No, in fact, I kept on working even through lockdown. Lockdown didn't even really affect me in a way. I never really had an issue about getting my boss to accept that I have a side business for two reasons. First of all, like I said earlier, I always kept it separate. So I never let anything of Vanilla Mommy interfere with my work as a pharmacist. So we can't really complain of anything. I never had to cancel any shifts or maybe work while I'm at work, you know, so it never really affected me. And also, Vanilla Mommy really became you would call it, if you can call it a business, only recently. I mean, before it was more like a hobby, and only recently I'm beginning to see some income or pocket money, as I like to call it, coming in. So I don't think it really affects my full-time job.
Fantastic. So what about you, Gabe? How did it impact your career? Because you were in the same company before, then you changed into reception just to have this free time and to free your mind. And then you came back to the company. So it shows a lot of trust in what you do and the value that you can bring to the table. So I wonder, how did it impact your career, and how did your current employer react when they heard about your business idea?
Well, it was never a problem for me, because whenever I applied for a position, I always put Gabe first. So I always go in with a very open heart still. And I'm saying that this is the project I'm working on. It's very important for me. So I do not let this project down, because it's much more than just creating bags and accessories. It has a life purpose. It has a message that I have to represent, which is to really work on this throwaway lifestyle to disappear, because it affects us on a very negative way. And so I think everybody respected it, that, you know, I represent this project, I'm proud of this project, and I'm doing it full-heartedly. So when my company approached me again, I didn't want to change the receptionist job, because, you know, I had so much time on my hands that really helped me to build up Gabe even more. So when this offer came, and it turned out that it will be a full-time position and a pretty demanding position, I had to reconsider if I really wanted to do that, because you are there to perform. These people are paying you. You have to, you know, get the results at the end of the month. And I wasn't sure that I can really do that. So what I said, let's go for a try. Let's see how it works. And if I feel comfortable doing that both, then it's lovely. I'm very blessed for having both my bosses and both my team such good people, in the sense that they understand my purpose, they understand the person I am, and I think they are really appreciating the fact that I'm 100% honest, that so far we didn't have any problem about it. So far,
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you, Gabe. I wanted, Giselle, sorry to come back to you and kind of nail a little bit longer, because I wonder, did your employer notice that you're coming out of the box and out of comfort zone, however you call it? Did they notice the change?
Well, I mean, they know about my blog. They know that I keep it up and that I'm consistent in it. But obviously, I do it outside work hours. I also will be changing job in the coming months, in a couple of months. And my new employer also knows that I have my blog, and we agree that as long as it doesn't interfere with my work, it should be fine. About coming out of my comfort zone, it's more.
So you're changing because you're getting a better salary, or having a job closer? What was the reason?
First of all, the job I have as a pharmacist is an amazing job, but it's always inside. It's very static. And the job I'm going to is going to be I'm going to be out and about. This suits me fine because it has an element of flexibility. So that was one of the driving forces why I decided to change job, and also. Because somehow I felt it was time. I don't know. Whenever I made a change in my life, I just feel like it's time for a change.
Fantastic. So it's time to change into a slightly lighter topic. I keep asking this question on my interviewees about, imagine the lockdown is over and you can have a private breakfast with anybody in the world, anywhere in the world. Minca, tell us, where would you go and who would you take with you?
A hard one. This one is really a killer one, yes. But maybe on the personal sort of side, I would probably choose my grandma, who unfortunately passed away a long time ago. And I did know her. I was, big enough, but still, I think I've missed out on many things with her. So now breakfast with her would be a wonderful, wonderful experience, because she was a wonderful woman, a great inspiration and everything. And then if I may maybe go into Hollywood a little bit more, be more fancy about it, I would probably choose an actor. Timothée Chalamet. I'm not sure if you know him, but he's smart, intelligent, a perfect actor. So maybe a breakfast with him somewhere in the hustle and bustle of the city. I think.
Fantastic.
Yeah. That would be
Sounds like fun. I don't know him, but I'll definitely try to search him.
Yes.
So, Gabe, what about you?
Well, I really believe that mindset is a very important thing in life. And if you want to that's something you have to sit down with the best to talk about. So the two person I would like to invite with me would be Eckhart Tolle and probably the Dalai Lama. And the place I would pick would be the White Monastery in Kathmandu, because I think science has a lot of answers. And I think it would be a very, very interesting breakfast.
Fantastic. And Giselle, the last question of today, who would you go with?
Well,
don't worry, your husband won't receive them.
Actually, my first response would have been my mom, because my mom has been locked inside for months now, and definitely take her out and give her a big hug when this was over. But I think if I had to choose someone, like since we're like daydreaming, I think I would choose, I don't know if you know about Vishen Lakhiani. He's the founder of Mind Valley, and he's a big inspiration to me. He created a company which is all about personal growth and personal development, and he inspires me a lot. So that would be a great breakfast. I'd probably choose a coffee shop, open air coffee shop in Rome or something like that.
Fantastic. Ladies,
nice.
It's been a pleasure to talk to you and daydream with you today. We talked about the personal experiences. We talked about how values play an important role in our businesses and how to be authentic. And I believe anybody can start. Giselle started with nothing, and Gabe used some recycled products, and Minca also didn't really spend a lot of money to invest and inject their hobby and turn it into business. I hope you're going to succeed. I know you're going to succeed. And there is really no problem to go online nowadays and feel woman on it that hack the future. Have a great day. I wish you success, whichever direction you choose. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.